At 5:03 p.m. Japan time, the earth beneath the Pacific Sea floor, east of Iwate Prefecture, gave a violent lurch. Within seconds, shockwaves rippled across Japan's northern coastline. A magnitude 6.9 earthquake that triggered tsunami alerts, vibrating phones, and memories of 2011. For millions along the Sanriku coast, it was a chilling reminder that the ground can still turn on you without warning. Television broadcasts cut to flashing red banners. Sirens echoed through quiet coastal towns. Tsunami Keiho, tsunami warning, scrolled across the bottom of the screen as fishermen and families looked toward the sea. 15 minutes later, tide gauges in Ofunato and Kujiya recorded waves about 20 centimeters high. Small, but powerful enough to stir collective memory. The Japan Meteorological Agency said the quake struck about 16 kilometers beneath the sea floor, shallow enough for the shaking to slam into the surface. Seismographs from Hachinohe to Sendai lit up simultaneously, and within seconds, Japan's nationwide early warning network pushed alerts to millions of phones, trains, and broadcast systems. The Sanriku coast has always been volatile. It sits on the edge of the Japan Trench where the Pacific Plate dives under the Okhotsk and Eurasian plates. When that pressure releases, even slightly, the results are unpredictable. The USGS and JMA logged dozens of aftershocks through the night, some magnitude 5 or higher, leaving communities tense, wondering whether a larger one might follow. At its epicenter, roughly 70 kilometers offshore, the quake likely shifted the seafloor by about a meter. That single meter of movement displaced enough water to generate the small tsunami waves observed along the coast. Though modest, the incident proved again how much energy lies hidden under Japan's eastern sea. Authorities reacted instantly. Within 3 minutes, the JMA issued a tsunami advisory for Iwate Prefecture. Evacuation centres opened, trains stopped for inspection, and highways near the shore were closed to avoid gridlock. Coast Guard vessels swept through harbours, checking for structural damage. In Aomori and Miyagi, emergency teams were activated preemptively. Electric power stayed stable except for a few minor blackouts. No damage was reported at any nuclear facility. Hokuriku Electric Power Company confirmed all reactors and cooling systems remained normal. After 2011, these plants were fitted with automatic shutdown protocols that engage at the first sign of strong shaking, a system that worked flawlessly. Japan's efficiency wasn't an accident. Every aspect of this response, from the sirens to the cell alerts, is part of a national choreography refined by tragedy. In 2011, communication networks collapsed. This time they synchronized. Within moments, citizens knew where to go, which shelters were open, and what level of danger to expect. The quake lasted barely half a minute, but its impact lingered. Security cameras showed lampposts bending and cars bouncing in place. Residents in Miyako said the ground rolled like waves beneath their feet. Store shelves shook, car alarms wailed, and in coastal towns, people sprinted uphill carrying children and pets just in case. About 5,000 residents temporarily evacuated across Iwate and neighbouring prefectures. Most returned to home that evening after officials confirmed the advisory had been lifted. No fatalities occurred, though some minor injuries were reported, sprains, cuts, and a few cases of shock. In a country where earthquakes are routine, that alone felt like a small miracle. Volunteers cleared debris and inspected roads the next day. Drone footage showed cracked seawalls and small landslides, but nothing catastrophic. The sea had retreated and returned quietly, as if to remind everyone that luck, not control, defines survival. For those old enough to remember 2011, the emotional tremors cut deeper than the physical ones. That disaster killed over 18,000 people. Entire communities were erased. As Sunday's sirens wailed again, many elderly survivors felt the same terror wash back over them. Some prayed, some froze, some ran without thinking. Psychologists say trauma like that never disappears. It hides until the next alarm pulls it back into the present. Yet Japan's resilience showed itself once again. In shelters, strangers offered blankets to neighbours. Students led their grandparents to safety. Volunteers prepared rice balls and tea for evacuees while checking phones for updates. There was fear, but there was also order, the kind born from repetition and respect for nature's unpredictability. By early evening, global monitoring centers confirmed there would be no Pacific-wide tsunami. South Korea and Russia reported light tremors, but no damage. The US National Tsunami Warning Center issued a statement within 30 minutes, confirming the threat was localized. Japan's space agency, JAXA, began analyzing satellite radar data to measure minute ground shifts. Early readings showed up to 15 centimeters of horizontal movement, marking this as a thrust-type quake typical of subduction events. Researchers at Tohoku University called it moderate but meaningful, another reminder that the Japan Trench still stores vast potential energy. Though 2011 released much of that strain, nature's balance constantly resets. Every small rupture changes stress along neighbouring faults. Throughout the night, aftershocks rattled buildings. Scientists logged more than 60 in 24 hours, most between magnitude 4 and 5.8. The JMA estimated about a 10% chance of another major tremor in the coming days. Not enough to panic, but enough to keep people alert. Social media filled with videos of swaying lights, cracked asphalt, and calm voices repeating, "Daijobu desu," it's okay. Engineers spent Monday assessing how Japan's vast defense network performed. After 2011, the government invested billions into seawalls, reinforced bridges, and sensors that automatically halt trains. Sunday's quake became a real-time test, and it passed. The Tohoku Shinkansen stopped instantly. No derailments, no injuries. Highway gates closed in milliseconds. Emergency generators kicked in at hospitals within seconds of the tremor. The precision of that response is the result of over a decade of research and rebuilding. At Kamaishi Port, cranes froze mid-operation as motion sensors triggered safety locks. Later inspections found the ground had shifted a few centimetres horizontally, enough to twist dock rails but not enough to break them. Small details like that remind engineers how fragile even modern infrastructure remains. Meanwhile, global support poured in. The USGS offered data assistance. Australia and South Korea prepared aid packages. Even China, despite recent political tensions, issued a statement of solidarity. Across the Pacific, headlines framed it as a warning shot, not a catastrophe. And yet, amid statistics and seismic graphs, it's the personal stories that linger. In Otsuchi, a fisherman named Takashi Endo filmed the ocean with trembling hands as sirens blared. "I knew it wasn't big," he told NHK, "but I still ran." You never forget that sound in Kamaishi. A teacher led her class of 30 students uphill in under 4 minutes, the same path their parents used 14 years earlier. They laughed when the all-clear came, unaware of how much history they'd just honoured. In total, Japan's infrastructure absorbed an earthquake that could have caused chaos elsewhere, without losing control. That calm efficiency is the country's silent armour. The people trust the system because the system has earned that trust through decades of painful trial and meticulous design. For scientists, every quake is a data set. Seismic stations across the nation recorded millions of data points. Acceleration, frequency, ground displacement, feeding into AI-driven models that help refine early warning algorithms. Researchers at the University of Tokyo say this event probably relieved some localized stress along the trench, but also shifted strain northward. That means the region's risk doesn't disappear. It migrates. Japan's government has already announced a new wave of funding for regional drills and coastal reinforcements, focusing on rural fishing towns that still lack modern seawalls. Construction will begin early next year, using real measurements from this quake to redesign barriers and drainage systems. For ordinary people, the lesson is simpler. Readiness is survival. Earthquakes can't be predicted, but responses can be rehearsed. Know where to run, keep a flashlight, batteries, bottled water, and a small radio. Respect the warnings, even if the last one felt like an overreaction. In a disaster, overreacting is how you live. By dawn the next morning, the sea was calm again. Fishing boats ventured out slowly under a pale sky. Children walked to school as if nothing had happened. But beneath that quiet normalcy, the landscape had changed ever so slightly. The coastline shifted a few centimetres, seawalls settled a little deeper, and the collective memory of a nation grew one chapter longer. Every time Japan faces an event like this, it shows the world what preparation really means. You don't see chaos in the streets or confusion on the news. You see coordination. People know where to go, officials know what to say, and systems know what to do. That's not luck, that's culture. It's resilience practiced until it becomes reflex. Over the next few weeks, scientists will continue mapping the rupture zone. JAXA satellites will scan for new land deformation, while ocean floor sensors will measure strain changes along the trench. The findings will feed directly into updated building codes and future earthquake simulations. What begins as disaster always ends as data. That's the Japanese way. But beyond the research and reconstruction lies a quieter truth. Somewhere tonight, a fisherman is double-tying his ropes before sleep. A teacher is reviewing evacuation drills for next semester. An elderly couple is folding their emergency blankets neatly beside the door. And all of them know the same thing. The ground will move again. Maybe tomorrow, maybe years from now. But it will. The earth doesn't owe us calm, but we owe each other readiness. Japan's story isn't about surviving earthquakes, it's about learning from them until survival becomes instinct. Every siren, every evacuation, every aftershock builds that instinct a little stronger. When the shaking stopped and the sea returned to stillness, there was no applause, no panic, just gratitude. Gratitude that the systems held, that the lessons from 2011 weren't forgotten, that the waves stopped at the seawall instead of passing over it. And that's the essence of Japan's relationship with its environment. Not domination, but dialogue. The ocean speaks, the earth shifts, and the people listen. They prepare, they adapt, and when the next tremor comes, they move together. So wherever you're watching this from, whether it's a city sitting on fault lines or far from any coast, take a note from Japan's playbook. Respect the forces that shape the planet, learn the routes, know the signs, and never underestimate the value of a few extra seconds of warning. Because when the Earth finally decides to move, those seconds and the preparation behind them are what separate fear from survival.